If you're thinking about choosing a side hustle, I want to give you a framework to help you make the decision easier for you. I call it the smart way of choosing side hustles because it takes into account what matters and what it's going to impact the success of your side hustle. So I'm going to use a pretty silly example, but I think it conveys the principle really well. Imagine you're in a race and the organizer says, all those who have the right shoes to be racing today, step forward, and you're one of the three. Then he says, if there's anyone here who's had the right hydration and had the right meal before this race, step forward. And let's assume only 2 people have had it. And then the last question, if you have trained for racing, if you have done this before and you have experience, take a step forward. So if we're thinking of the analogy of racing, the person who does not have the right equipment, training, nutrition, support is going to have a disadvantage in comparison to the one who has the right training, equipment, support, right? All the elements needed to succeed. Starting a side hustle is very similar to this idea of racing. You need to have the right support system. You need to have the right things in place if you want to have an advantage over your competition, if you want to increase your chances of success. So what does that mean in terms of side hustles? Everyone has specific, a unique combination of resources. And some of the resources I'll mention here are time, starting capital, and skill, right? These are some of them, or at least the essential ones. If you don't have a lot of time and you want to start a side hustle that require 30 hours a week, you are setting yourself up for failure from the beginning. If your side hustle requires 10 to 20,000 investment to get it to the type of profit you want, but you only have a couple $100, you're setting yourself up for failure. If the side hustle requires some type of specialized skill, like building websites on the side, but you don't have that skill, it's going to make it harder. So again, the combination of time availability, starting capital, and experience and skill is going to determine what you should choose. There should be a fit between the resources you have and the side hustle you're choosing. And if you make the right decision, you're going to be like this person who has the advantages and is starting ahead, and you're going to reach the finish line much quicker. So let's take an example. Let's assume I want to sell on Amazon, and I've done a lot of models of selling on Amazon. I'll give you a few just so you understand the examples better. Arbitrage is actually just flipping products. You can buy items at retail stores, either on clearance or at full price, and sell them on Amazon for a profit. I have plenty of friends who are doing really well with this model. Then you have the wholesale option where you buy in bulk. So this is bulk buying. You usually have to have several hundred, if not several $1,000s. You have to act and look like a business in order to get a wholesale account. So there's a bit more setup, but with the arbitrage, you can just buy 1 to 5 units anytime you want and resell them on Amazon. Wholesale, you might need to buy cases. And then let's assume private label is another model. This is where you put your own label on someone else's item. We have done this by importing items from China. We have done it on products made in the US, but this requires a higher MOQ, minimum order quantity, and that's usually hundreds. So let's assume 500 units. Is the lowest minimum order quantity. If you have $500 and someone else has $5,000, and both of you are starting the private label model, the person with $5,000 is going to probably have a lot more success because they have the resources to make it work. However, let's assume both of you are starting the arbitrage model that fits the $500. Let's say it's $100, not $500. Arbitrage, you can start it with a couple $100. Again, it's going to be harder to get to big numbers if you compare yourself to someone who has $5,000 to start. But let's just assume, for the sake of this example, you have $100. You can start the arbitrage model. You probably cannot start these other models. These are going to be really difficult if all you have is $100. So your starting point is going to be further away than the finish line for the 5K person. Now, the other thing is that the 5K person can also pay for a mentor, right? Some training to get them to success quicker. So they're going to have an advantage over you because they can pay for a coach, and that's going to get them to success quicker. Again, it does not mean that you cannot be very successful even if you started with $100. I started my first Amazon business with $250. A friend of and myself started this business, and we were able to get to 6 figures pretty quickly. And then we kept growing. Then we had some issues and we switched models. However, there are plenty of people I know who started with very, very little on Amazon and ended up doing well. The point I'm trying to make is that if you are not considering the resources you have and the fit between your resources and the model you're choosing, in this case, I just chose 3 models of selling on Amazon. If you fail to determine what is the right fit between your resources and the model you choose, it's going to make it a lot harder. So what I recommend is that you look at the 3 elements we mentioned: time, budget, or startup capital, and skill. At all possible, use a proven blueprint to start a side hustle. You can always start and figure things out on your own. You can watch YouTube videos and learn a lot. But if you choose a proven blueprint, someone else is going to share the step-by-step plan of how to build the type of side hustle you can build. You're going to give yourself an advantage. It's like being this person who has an advantage over the other person who doesn't have the right training and equipment. So start with the proven blueprint, but make sure there's a fit between the time availability, the capital you have, and the skills needed to make this work.